Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Abigail Norris Turner, and it's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the American Sexually Transmitted Diseases Association, the ASTDA, to this awards recognition event. As you can see, there you can see on the slide, ASTDA's mission is to foster scientific knowledge, develop leadership, and champion practice in the field of STIs. And as you'll hear in this session, this year's awardees embody these critical attributes, and our field has benefited enormously from their many contributions. For me personally, recognizing each of these individuals here today brings so much joy. In this very challenging time, celebrations of excellence, such as this one, serve to remind us that honoring rigorous work that continues to advance our field is a powerful form of optimism about the future, and also a form of resistance against the sorrow and fear of the present. Thank you for being part of this community and for the support you demonstrate by being here with us today. And without further delay, I want to invite my colleague, Dr. Case Rittmeyer, to the podium to introduce our first award.
Alors, bon après-midi et bon appétit. I'm Case Rittmeyer. I am an associate editor of the journal Sexually Transmitted Diseases, and I stand in here for Dr. Bill Miller, who could not be at this meeting and asked me to present the best paper by a young investigator in this last year for sexually transmitted diseases. The way that works is that the associate editors actually make a selection of papers that they have seen and that they think would be good for this award, and then the slate of candidates is then presented to the editorial board. Many of you are on this editorial board and have helped select the winners for this award. Should I? So in third place is Jessica Cron, first author on a study entitled Retrospective Cohort Study of Financial Incentives for Sexually Transmitted Infection Testing and Treatment in an Outreach Population in Edmonton, Canada, 2018-2019. In second place is a paper from Payal Chakraborty from Harvard on an analysis of 2019 Ohio disease intervention specialist records for syphilis cases using clustering algorithms. So that's in second place. And then, so in first place, drum roll, Michael Trager, and I think Michael is here. If you could come to the podium to get recognized, that'd be great. Use of doxycycline and other antibiotics as bacterial sexually transmitted infection prophylaxis in a U.S. sample of primary gay and bisexual men. Applause. I have something.
At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Christina Musney to the stage to introduce our early career awardee.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina Musney, and I'm a professor of medicine in the Division of Infectious Disease at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. It is my pleasure to introduce Libby Van Gerwen, an assistant professor of medicine for the 2025 ASTDA Early Career Investigator Award. Libby did her undergraduate studies at UAB, followed by an internal medicine residency and a chief resident year at Tulane University in New Orleans. I met her in 2018 when she was becoming an ID fellow at UAB. We connected immediately, given our shared interest in improving the sexual health of LGBTQ populations, as well as women with vaginal infections. Libby wrote her first grant during her first year of ID fellowship, a time which is extremely busy clinically for first-year fellows. We were off to a great start, coming up with new research ideas and writing papers. Everything was good initially until it wasn't. On the eve of Libby's first ISSTDR conference in 2019 in Vancouver, she received a new cancer diagnosis. The next year was stressful as Libby was taking care of her health while continuing to work full-time and take care of a young child. During this time, she kept telling me, "Treat me like everything is normal. Treat me like everything is okay. I want to write the grants. I want to write the papers. I want to do everything." She was an inspiration to me. Her sense of strength and solidarity were unmatched, as were her determination to succeed. The subsequent 6 years have been filled with resilience from Libby, remission of her cancer, and a pure joy for life. Libby has done great things during this time. She started the UAB Gender Clinic, helped me to start the UAB ID Vaginitis Clinic, mentored numerous trainees at all levels, received multiple pilot awards. She's published 36 peer-reviewed papers to date, and recently last year received a K23 award from NIAID pertaining to the sexual health of transgender men. She has built a bond of trust with the transgender community of Central Alabama in a time of deep political unrest like no other person that I know. As Libby's primary research mentor, colleague, and friend, I'm honored to be part of her circle. Libby is many things to many people, and her eternal optimism shines bright. Congratulations, Libby. I'm gonna cry. I want to say one more thing. Libby's mom recently passed away 2 weeks ago, and she's here to accept this award. And I just want to say, your mom is watching over us right now, and she's definitely here to celebrate you.
Now I have to talk while I'm crying. That was so beautiful, Christina. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to everyone who's a part of this family. I felt like Christina said, when things are hard, I like to do everything like it's normal. I want to keep moving on. I want to keep doing the work. And so I was so thrilled to win this award. And when everything happened with my family 2 weeks ago, I had a really hard time deciding what I was going to do in terms of traveling, working. And it was really easy to decide to come to this conference because you all are like family. Like, I feel so joyful to be here talking about this wonderful science that we're doing, making connections with new friends, catching up with old friends. And it's especially important to me to win this award in this time. As Christina said, I do a lot of my work around LGBT health in Alabama, of all places. And it's really, really hard, but that's what makes it so important, and that's what makes me get up in the morning and want to keep doing it. So to be honored with this award in this time for doing this work means so much, and it inspires me to keep doing it. So thank you all so much, and I appreciate the ASTDA for highlighting everything that y'all just talked about. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome Dr. Connie Kellum to the stage to introduce our Achievement Award winner.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Connie Kellum from the University of Washington, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Stephanie Cohen, who currently serves as the director of the STI and Prevention and Control Program in the Disease Prevention and Control Branch, that's a mouthful, at the San Francisco Department of Public Health. Stephanie received her MD from Harvard and her residency and fellowship training at UCSF, and then served for 12 years as the medical director of the San Francisco City Clinic, which is a national center of excellence in sexual health care. Stephanie has brought her thoughtful and insightful and very effective public health leadership to a number of things, but I'll just highlight three. The first was the U.S. PrEP demonstration project, which feels like a long time ago, but which pioneered HIV PrEP clinical service delivery and established the norm of quarterly syphilis and 3-site gonorrhea and chlamydia testing as a standard of care for PrEP care. Secondly, the DoxyPEP study, through which I had the opportunity and the pleasure to get to work closely with Stephanie as the site PI for the San Francisco City Clinic. The high efficacy of DoxyPEP paved the way for the rollout of the first novel and long-awaited, highly effective biomedical prevention tool against STIs. And that really, although there's much more to be learned, it opened a new era in the response to the STI epidemic. Through this, she had a major hand in developing the San Francisco Department of Public Health guidelines for citywide DoxyPEP implementation, which were the first from a public health agency in the US. She also designed and implemented the first DoxyPEP clinical service at a major San Francisco clinic, the City Clinic, which is one of the first in the US. She also, thirdly, was one of the first to pilot pharmacy-delivered STI and HIV testing and HIV PrEP in California. So what I want you to take away from this is that there were many firsts in these examples, and it really demonstrates her unparalleled commitment to pioneering new approaches to STI prevention and treatment and development of models for care for not just in the US, but internationally. And I want to highlight that Stephanie's work really embodies the theme of this year's conference, which is sexual health for all. Her work has touched the lives of many thousands of people in San Francisco who use DoxyPEP and HIV PrEP, and has really enabled a new era of sexual health empowerment for communities affected by this. One of the things that I have really come to appreciate about Stephanie is not only she is a leader, but she has humility and compassion in her leadership. She's a strong advocate for sex-positive approaches to STI prevention and care, and really a visionary, and she's really calm, I should just mention. Her colleagues, I asked several people to come up with adjectives, and the ones that they quickly came up with is she's thoughtful, insightful, deeply committed, creative, purposeful, persevering, incredibly hardworking, positive, and funny. Behind every leader is their support crew, and I think Adam and Lyle and Theo are in the audience. Are you here somewhere? Wave your hands. Adam is her husband, and Theo and Lyle are the sons. And they, apparently her sons call it it's either mid or midlife award, which I find funny. As this photo shows, her children are proud supports of her professional contributions and accomplishments. So Stephanie, thank you for all that you've done and how you do it. And congratulations, you are most deserving of the ASTDA Achievement Award.
Good afternoon. It's truly an honor to stand before all of you today. I want to thank my colleagues, Dr. Gerwen and Montika Levy, for nominating me for this award, to the ASTDA Awards Committee, and to Dr. Connie Kellum. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. When I've looked back at all of those who have received this award in the past, and knowing so many deserving colleagues, I'm definitely struggling with some imposter syndrome. I know that I'm here because of the many people who have inspired and supported and guided me along the way, and I'm really grateful to have this moment to reflect on them and share some of the lessons that they've taught me. My first mentors in medical school, Dr. Paul Farmer and Dr. Heidi Beferuz, taught me how STIs and HIV are the direct consequence of discrimination and structural inequalities. They gave me the opportunity to work alongside community health workers in Boston to visit people living with HIV in their homes who were struggling with engagement in care and with adherence, and to try to figure out ways to address those barriers that those patients were facing. Those community health workers really showed me how medicine and public health can and must address social determinants and work to advance social justice. The lessons that Paul shared with me, and I know he's inspired so many, have been a guiding light for me throughout my career. I had my first experiences working at San Francisco City Clinic as a UCSF internal medicine resident and infectious diseases fellow. I really discovered my passion for STIs at City Clinic. There, I met Dr. Joe Engelman. He is a true public health hero who spent his entire career seeing patients at City Clinic and teaching thousands of medical students, residents, and fellows like me. Joe taught me to be a syphilologist and the delight at seeing a treponeme under the dark field microscope. At City Clinic, I also learned how to provide compassionate, respectful, stigma-free STI care. Gail Bolin was my mentor as an ID fellow. I know many people in this room know what a force of nature Gail is. And she was also an incredibly generous mentor. As an ID fellow, I couldn't really appreciate how busy Gail was, but now as a manager and administrator, I have some sense of it, and yet somehow Gail made time for me. She taught me how to use public health data to inform STI prevention programs, and she taught me an invaluable skill, which is how to navigate a bureaucracy. That's probably been one of the most important. And she also introduced me to my dear friend and brilliant colleague, Ina Park, who has taught so many of us how important it is to bring laughter and levity to this work. In 2009, after Gail left for the CDC, I began working with Dr. Grant Colfax, who was then the director of HIV prevention at SFDPH. Grant asked me to work on a plan for how we would implement PrEP in San Francisco. This was before the IPREC study results came out and before the FDA approval of FTC-TDF for PrEP. Grant emphasized to me how important it would be to involve the community early in the planning process. And he supported my proposal that City Clinic should be central to the role of PrEP delivery in San Francisco. As I entered the third year of my ID fellowship, in a moment of serendipity, I could not have been more thrilled or lucky when Dr. Susan Phillips selected me to be the medical director of San Francisco City Clinic, a place I had already fallen in love with during my training. Susan, who's now the health officer for SFDPH, has been a mentor and advisor throughout my career. She has taught me how to bring together stakeholders, to really listen and incorporate a diversity of opinions as we're making decisions about public health policy and program. She also showed me how public health can partner with industry and academia to advance the science of prevention. In 2010, Grant and Susan entrusted Dr. Al Liu and I to lead the US PrEP demonstration project. I'm indebted to the amazing team who participated in that work, many of whom are listed here. The PrEP Demo project was a crash course for me in how to design and implement clinical trials. I was frankly too inexperienced at that point in my career to understand how hard it would be and what challenges lay ahead, from how long it would take to finalize the protocol, to the intricacies of designing the questionnaires, to all the controversy that would ensue about PrEP's role in rising rates of STIs. And reflecting back on that, one lesson I learned is that the naive optimism I had at the time was actually really beneficial. Without it, I think we're often reluctant to take risks or try things that might not seem possible. And now, as I've gone through my career and experienced periods of burnout and discouragement, I've realized that I have to really actively nurture and intentionally work on that optimism. And that practice has been especially difficult and especially hard this year. PrEP, in the power that it holds and what an amazing impact it's had on HIV, really laid the foundation for my interest in DoxyPEP. And I want to appreciate two divas of DoxyPEP, one of us who is here today and one's not, and that is the incredible Lady Gaga Connie Kellum and Super Wonder Woman Annie Lukemeyer. I was so thrilled when we embarked on the DoxyPEP RCT to have the opportunity to work with Connie and many others from the mothership of STIs, that is the University of Washington. UAB. Connie, you have taught me so much about how to lead with compassion and integrity. I think, as you all know, there's an ongoing discussion about the risks of DoxyPEP and its potential impact on antimicrobial resistance and the microbiome. And Connie's ability to respond to these DoxyPEP questions with her calm, steady voice and artful diplomacy is something that I try to emulate in my career. So I'm very, very grateful for my mentors, but I think what really keeps me going every day is the wonderful mission-driven colleagues that I get to work with in this field of STIs. The UCSF internal medicine class of 2007 included these HIV STI prevention all-stars who I'm so fortunate to count not just as thought partners, but as my good friends. I also want to appreciate the incredible staff at SF City Clinic and at SFDPH who are creative and committed and who I know I can rely on to embrace all of these innovations that have come during my career, but who also point out to me when I have blind spots in my thinking or my approach to a problem. And of course, I would not be here without my loving family, Theo, Lyle, and Adam. Thanks for coming to Montreal. Thanks for being willing to snuggle with HIV, syphilis, the healthy penis, and gonorrhea for this photo. I also want to acknowledge my parents, Terry and Alan Cohen, who are also both here today. They came all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. They actually unwittingly posed with the healthy penis for this photo. And they've been really willing to support me in whatever interests and dreams I've had. So while I'm really quite grateful for ASTDA for creating this space for celebration and for reflection, it has been, very difficult to find joy during these incredibly dark and disturbing times. We're witnessing the U.S. government attempt to systematically dismantle public health, our safety net, our research infrastructure, while attacking our values and trying to erase our communities. Every day, it's a new onslaught of bad news. And, I think like many of you, I'm struggling to figure out how do we move forward despite this. And, I know that, let's see, there we go. Sustaining this progress is gonna require drawing on some of those many lessons that I've learned from my mentors, being in solidarity, persistence, finding joy, nurturing hope, and working together in community. So, thank you.
I'd now like to welcome to the stage to introduce our Distinguished Career Award winner, Dr. Charlotte Gaydos and Dr. Esso.
Thank you, Amy. It's my greatest pleasure to introduce Bobby for the ASTDA Distinguished Career Award. What a career she has had. I first met Bobby back in 1993 in Helsinki, Finland, at an ISSTDR meeting where we were presenting. We became fast friends over many years. I worked really hard to get Bobby to get her PhD. Look at her now. Bobby is the endowed professor of medicine and sexual health research at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, or UAB. She began her career with a degree in biology in the honors program at Indiana University, and shortly after that, she began to work with Bob Jones in chlamydia research. That's when we used to grow chlamydia to identify it. She probably still can. She received her MPH in Epi and her PhD in health behavior research at Indiana University in 2000 and in 2007. She became an assistant and associate professor with the joint appointments in School of Medicine, Public Health. She continued to do chlamydia research, but she also managed to do 10 years of laboratory consultancy work in Africa and the Caribbean. In 2013, she moved to UAB as an associate and then a professor of medicine in public health and also in the School of Medicine. When I think of Bobby, some very strong words come to mind. Friend, smart, societies, service, mentor, leader, passionate, lifelong learner, world diagnostic expert, helper, collaborator, prolific, meetings, happy. Bobby served in many societies from ASTDR to ASM to APHA to NCSD and all of them. She's had service on many committees, both to CDC and to the WHO, the NIH study section, and even way back to the Infertility Prevention Project, and serves as scientific advisors to many organizations. She's a mentor. She's had 16 thesis and dissertation committee, 14 graduate advisors, and she founded the ASTDA annual workshop for career building for young investigators. Passionate. She's passionate about not only looking at diagnostic studies, but also their implementation. World-leading expert. She's participated in over 100 FDA trials and industry entities. Helper. She's helped all of these industries bring new diagnostics to market for FDA clearance. Collaborator. She's had lots of fundings with research with collaborating experts, including Dennis Fortenberry, Ned Hook, Jeannie Marazzo, and she has a whole bunch of large federal and foundation grants. Prolific, yes. She's published over 200 peer-reviewed journal articles, 17 reviews, 16 book chapters, extended abstracts, posters, and others at national and international meetings. She's a reviewer for many journals and an associate editor for both the STD and the STI journals. Meetings. She's planned many meetings. She served also, as you all probably remember, as president of the last ISSTDR meeting in Chicago. What a great meeting that was. Happy? I'm sure that Bobby is a friend to everyone in this room. We've laughed together over the years. We've cried together. We've learned a lot together. I am happy that Bobby is a friend of everyone in this room. So I'm also very proud that she's been my best friend for over 30 years. No tears.
ASTDA colleagues and distinguished guests, it's my greatest honor to stand before you to co-introduce the one and only Dr. Bobby Vander Poel as the recipient of the 2025 ASTDA Distinguished Award. Before I share my reflections of the awesomeness and amazingness, generosity of Bobby, I want to be grateful to my colleagues that share their testimonials about first-hand experience that they've experienced from Bobby. Dr. Alisa Davis, Dr. Pooja Shitani, Dr. Alyssa Makani, Dr. Annette Harris, and Dr. Soma Kodasi. And these are colleagues from academia as well as from the industry. Distinguished ASTDA colleagues, today we come together not only to celebrate the excellence in STI research as well as public health, but to celebrate an exceptional individual who has given her time to mentoring the next generation of STI investigators. Bobby is very passionate about giving her time selflessly to making sure that there will be future for the field of STI. How did it start with me getting to know Bobby? I'm from University of Washington. I have never talked to Bobby. But January 2018, it was actually specifically January 3rd. It was Wednesday, 2018, around 8:30 a.m. my time, which means she sent the email. You can calculate that from UAB, what time she sent the email. And it was, the subject of the email was workshop invitation. And she said, "Dear SO, if you use the word dear SO, then you do know me. Because if you do not know me, you will misspell my first name," which is what I get all the time. Because people want to prove they can spell it, but they always misspell it. And she said, "Dear SO." I mean, getting an email from someone that I had long admired through our publications in STI diagnostics, as well as our insightful questions at the STI prevention conference. Questions like, okay, because you don't have vagina, you don't care about trick. And I got the email. She invited me to ASTDA workshop. And specifically, she said, we invite early career investigators who would like to build a career in STI, in STD research. And of course, I said yes. So I went to Phoenix and Arizona. After the meeting, Bobby told me, "Are you a member of ASTDA?" I said, "No." "Oh, you may want to consider joining." And of course, I joined, and I also joined the board of ASTDA, and now I'm completing my second term. On a personal note, Bobby has been incredibly selfless in how she has mentored not just me, including all of us that are early career investigators, especially those of us that were invited to the inaugural ASTDA workshop. And some of us continue to go to that meeting. Most of these investigators, they come from institutions that do not have robust STI program, and she has been able to ensure that they continue in the field. What an amazing mentor Bobby is. Last year, Bobby was invited to come and give a symposium. Maybe she did apply for it at the ADLM, which is the Association for Diagnostic Laboratory Medicine. And she invited me that I should tag along and she come and talk about gonorrhea antimicrobial resistance, which is what I did. And that was actually featured in CAP, College of American Pathologists. Bobby has shown to us that she cares a lot about the next generation of STI investigators. A few things I admire about you, Bobby, not too many, because I will go on and on. Your unwavering dedication to mentoring the next generation of STI investigators. Your vision and leadership, how you look at the big picture. You are talking about regulatory reform this morning, about how we can change all this bottleneck to actually make sure we can get new diagnostics approved on time. Your selflessness, even when you are traveling internationally, you get my email, you say, "What do you need?" It takes a mentor, it takes a mom, an academic mom to do that. So today, it is with all gratitude from me as well as other early career investigators who has benefited immensely from your mentorship that I say this is well deserved. Thank you for everything, Bobby.
Well, thank you to Charlotte and Esso. And you might not notice, I'm going to tell you, Charlotte and I are wearing the same shirt. We are best friends. We shop together and we picked the same clothes, apparently. So we said, okay, fine, we're doing this. We're wearing the same clothes. So for those of you who know me, you'll be a little surprised when I say I'm speechless. I'm not often speechless. Thank you. But Lynn Barkley said to me a little while ago, a few months ago, well, you knew you were going to get this someday. And I said, no, I didn't. And so I think it's about perspective. And so my husband, who's here with us today, gave me the title for this talk because he said what he thinks is really unique about my journey is that I started so low. He said, you weren't just on the plane, you were in the valley. So, okay, thanks, that's fine. But, and then Lynn and I, over a little bit of wine maybe, let ChatGPT help us draw an image. And so this is my image of my journey, and it's called From the Bottom Up. I'm the elephant, in case you're wondering. And the point of this is that we all need people giving us a hand up. We can't get to the top without people helping us. But we do need people to push us up from behind, and Charlotte did kick my butt and force me to get my PhD, so I wouldn't be here without Charlotte, so thank you for that. But, so that's what I'm going to talk about, but this was hard for me because I had to think about how I wanted to contextualize this and what I wanted to say, and what I wanted to share with people. So I was going to do a really lovely talk about my journey alongside chlamydia. You know, we both started as unknowns, we got really popular, but now people are over us, and I'm just like, but you know, it's been a craptastic year, and you cannot sit through yet another chlamydia talk. So we're not going to do that after all. Instead, I'm going to be the old person who has the privilege of standing up here and saying things to you young people that you can ignore. So I'm going to focus on what matters. And in the not quite yet immortal words of Rod Stewart, I wish I knew what I know now when I was younger. So you people won't listen to me, just like you didn't listen to your grandparents, and I didn't listen to mine, but it's always appropriate. So now what I'm going to do is something Dennis Fortenberry taught me I must do, and that is I'm going to tell you a story. And I have to use a contextual framework because he taught me that that was also a requirement in my life. So I'm going to put this in the form of a journey, and I'm going to give you tips and tricks for your journey, no matter how far advanced you are along the way. But of course, the most important hint here is it's a treasure hunt. There are things that you need to find along the way, and I'm going to tell you how I find those things for myself. First, find yourself over and over and over again. And so I will tell you my story of never say never. I'm quoting the immortal James Bond. Never say never again. I had 3 very, very hard nevers when I got my undergraduate degree. I was never going to work in a lab. Well, oops, that one didn't work so well, did it? Okay, that's fine. My other 2 nevers were fine. I was never going to go to graduate school. Well, that's Charlotte's fault there. That's okay. And then the last never is I was never, ever going to teach. So, all right, so maybe you're better off not saying nevers. And this is a quote from Men in Black that I absolutely love. It's just think. 500 years ago, men knew the world was flat. And yesterday, you knew we were alone in the universe. Just think what you'll know tomorrow. And I think that that's something we all need to just remember. We don't know everything. We like to think we do. But so it's okay to reinvent yourself. And Charlotte went over much of my path. I won't go over it in great detail. But it was nonlinear, and it wasn't sequential.
I worked and then went to school and worked and went to school, and Bill put up with me working and traveling and going to school and being a father, and so lots of things to be happy about along that traveling journey. But working in resource-limited settings really, I think, helped form a lot of my philosophies in life, and seeing the things that we are privileged to have in resource-rich countries and the things that we are, I think, obligated to do for people who don't have our same opportunities. After I got my PhD in health behaviors, and I was first studying sexual behaviors with an emphasis on behaviors that led to sexual exposures and transmissions, I became more and more interested in actually understanding health behaviors that are related to implementation science, right? Because we can build these great tools, but then if we can't get anybody to use them, what's the whole point? So, and I moved to Alabama somewhere along the way and learned what resource-limited settings in the United States look like. And I think all too often we forget, even if we live in resource-rich settings, whether it's the US, Canada, Europe, there are pockets and large pockets of people who do without. And so we would be good to be mindful of all people in all places. So I think the key to finding and reinventing yourself is admitting, Bill, please close your ears, we can all be wrong. And it's not really as hard as you think it is to say that. And so embrace it, it's okay. And the best answer of today might not be the best answer tomorrow. So we can, we need to not get stuck in the mud. We need to not keep spinning our wheels trying to prove that we're right, but rather we have an obligation to better understand everything and adjust. We don't have to be right, we just have to keep trying to be right. So. And we're always limited by our tools, right? And again, the rise and fall of chlamydia trachomatis is a great example of this. In years gone by, my little fedora hat here was M. hominis was the key player for PID, right? Everybody was only worried about M. hominis. And then chlamydia bounced into the room and said, no, look at me, and chlamydia took over. So we started all these programs, but now that we have better tools, we're like, ooh, wait, it's a snake that swallowed an elephant. It's not a hat at all. And so we have to use our tools, and we have to reevaluate what we think we know. We have to learn the lessons, and we have to just say, oh, let's change our mind. Let's go a different direction. So once you find yourself, now you have to find your passion. So both Esso and Charlotte ever so kindly said I was a passionate person, and I think that's a true statement. But I hope that all of you are passionate as well about what you do, because that's how you learn to love what you do. And my first passion was, of course, lovely little chlamydia. Who can't love her? She's everywhere, right? If you don't, and she gets there by you loving her. So in general, chlamydia is a great thing to love. But I evolved, and I began to love cute little trichomonas. And trichomonas was more, yes, we all love trick, Claudia. Trichomonas was even more common than chlamydia. And I thought this was really great. And then I could develop tools, and we could detect trichomonas, and wasn't it wonderful? And it was related to HIV risks, so it was so important. It was related to adverse outcomes of pregnancy. It's super important. Why do we not care? Well, yes, so it's because people who have a vagina often make policies, or maybe they don't. But so I became really interested in women's health perspectives. And Dennis Fortenberry once said to me, I'm a feminist, and I said, no, I'm not. And while, since Bill's here, I can't legally say that I was wrong, I will say I was less right than Dennis. I was a feminist to a certain degree. But I like to think I'm actually a humanist. And I really think that what we need to be doing is thinking about everybody, which of course leads me to being passionate about equality, equity, and really truly social justice. And I love this image. I don't know if it shows up well on the screen, but I love this image because what it shows is that we don't just have to make accommodations for people, but we have to level the playing field. Everybody has to be able to get into the game, right? I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you look like, what your behaviors are. You all have to have the same opportunities. And so the social justice became one of my passions. Then I moved to Alabama. Social justice will hit you upside the head there, and when we think about access to care and lack of that because of rural populations here in the United States, it's stunning. We have counties in Alabama that don't have a hospital. We only have 10 counties left where people can get maternal delivery services in the whole state, 10 counties. So when you think about these things and access to care, then of course one of the solutions, and not for delivery, of course, for pregnant women, but for STIs, an obvious solution then becomes self-care. So again, how do we get opportunities to manage people's sexual health into their own hands and let the users drive their sexual health in the ways that they find best? So that's been the evolution of my passion. So I really strongly encourage you to find your passion, whatever it may be, and it may be a bug, it may be a technical solution, it may be a protein target that you think might be a vaccine target. I don't care what it is, but it probably should be person-centered. It could be camels, Bill. I love my camels. My husband hates camels. Or it could be the Chicago Cubs baseball team. I don't care what your passion is, but find it and embrace it, because I think that's how you find joy in your work. And once you find your passion, then you have to find your people. And nobody since the history of ever has stood on a stage and accepted this award without being surrounded by a ton of really good people. And I'm very fortunate, and this is just a few of them. This is a subset of people I had good pictures of, but these are people that I work with all the time. I don't like to say work for me, because they do work with me, and they are a very valued part of our teams, and we don't stand up here alone. And if you think you do, get off the stage, because you're wrong. But like any worthwhile endeavor, you need people around you. You need somebody you can pick up the phone at 3 in the morning and go, I just lost $16 million because of the government. But you also need people that you can call and say, oh my God, I just got an award. So whatever it is, good, better, and different, you need people that you can share with and that will be there for you no matter what the story is that you need to tell. And some are still with us and some are no longer with us, but you know, they've all played a role in my life, and they've all been people that I could always reach out to get help. But it's not enough. You need more people. And you guys have seen me maybe in the hallways, and I keep stopping and chatting with somebody and stopping and chatting with somebody. It's because of people, right? We have to make this connection. It's so critical. And all through our lives, we'll find people who can either help us or we can help them. And so we need to actively look for them and actively embrace those opportunities. So this is, and Case, I'm sorry about that picture. It's really pretty heinous of you. but you're loved, you know that, so that's okay. And so there's the people you work with that help you do the work that you do, and then there's the people that just help support you, both, you know, from a thought perspective, but also emotionally and socially. But I would really argue, please, please don't forget that we have to think about the people we want to serve, because we have to be doing this for a reason. We're not just doing it for ourselves. And these just happen to be people in sub-Saharan Africa who kindly let me take their pictures. Some are at work and some are at clinics waiting for services. But you know, I could take the same pictures in Alabama. I mean, I could take the same pictures anywhere. So I just think it's important that we really focus on what is important, and that is the people around us. And once you've surrounded yourself with all these people, what have you done? You've built a network. And they're not just sexual networks anymore. These are actually friend and work networks too. So while I love sexual network modeling, we'll stick with real networks that I'm involved in. So usually this slide is the second slide right after my title. So you might say, what the heck is this doing here? She mixed up her slides. I didn't. My slide for my disclosures tells you about my networks, right? I work with the NIH, I work with CDC, I obviously work at UAB, but I work with all of these diagnostic companies. I work with the FDA, I work with the WHO. Basically, I'll work with anybody because I want us all to win, and the only way to win is to get everybody at the table. And so this is how I've built my network. And I think that it's important for all of you in the audience who are younger to think about, well, how do I build a network? I don't know all those people. Well, you're here. You've taken a step in the right direction, so you'll get there. And I joined my first professional society right after undergraduate, and 30 years later, I was elected president of that society. Esso hadn't heard of the society, joined it, and now he's on the board. So, I mean, no, it's like find the opportunities, but when the opportunities present themselves, you have to take them. Nobody can take them for you. And I work, as I said, with anybody, and I'm on executive committees for multiple international societies, again, because I want to hear what's happening in other places. I want to provide my input into things that I think I can help with. And I think it lets me learn from others, but it also lets others learn what the US situation is. So I think I've leveraged these relationships built through these societies to help me do a lot of things. We had recent CDC funding that had 9 academic institutions in our consortia, 4 not-for-profit organizations, 4 public health agencies, and we had 5 industry partners who had signed letters of support to do the work as the work should come up. So meeting and talking to people allows you the opportunity to really build things where we can have synergy and be successful. So for you young people, is there anybody in the audience that's young? If you're young, don't be shy, don't hide in the bushes like this elephant, but when you have data, present it. Don't ever say, oh, I only want a poster because I don't want to stand up on the podium. Stand up on the podium. We want to hear what you have to say. We hear what we have to say all the time. Let's hear some young voices, right? And if you have a question, don't be shy to go up to somebody after their talk. And have you ever met a speaker who's like, don't bother me with your compliments about my talk? You know, I mean, no, they're happy to hear from you. I've heard so many people say, oh, I could never talk to so-and-so because they're big. And it's like, you're just as big as they are. You know, you stand on the same floor. So just make sure that you take opportunities when they're there and join organizations, sit on subcommittees and committees, attend workshops and webinars whenever you have the opportunity. Often these things don't cost much, but again, that network building opportunity is what you really will benefit from. And so these are just some of my networks, and some of you in the audience will be able to find yourself if you have a very good vision. But this includes people from a lot of different meetings, the ASTDA workshop, but also I think the one with the people on the stairs is from the Amsterdam meeting in 2005, so a lot of you will be on that. Anyway, just ways that we have found to get together, and also I think you can see that we're enjoying each other, and I think that's important. So you found your people, you found your network, you know what your passion is. Find your damn voice. Stand up. We cannot be complicit by silence in today's times. I refuse to say it's okay. It's not okay. I don't know why they let me into the United States Senate at one point, but they did. And I got my picture taken, so it's true now. But I think that it's really important that we all find our voice, and we really have to continue to advocate for sexual health as a human right. Now, when that's really not popular with the government, we cannot sit back and go, oh, I don't want to offend anybody. We have to stand up and say, you're wrong, and we have to fix this. WHO has taken the lead in trying to advocate for sexual health as a human right, and we need other places all around the world to follow with that and continue to push. Because when we don't, syphilis comes back to visit. I told you chlamydia and trick were everywhere, but syphilis is always just outside the door waiting to come in. So when we stop services, we pay for it. And women and children pay for it, gay men pay for it, everybody pays for it. So we have to be mindful that we have an obligation to speak out. And we have to advocate for women's reproductive rights. I mean, women are dying, children die because of lack of quality services. And again, obviously, women's rights are human rights, so we have to think about that. But because you've got this great network that you just built, use your network with your voice, and we have more influence together. And I think we have to organize with people and join organizations that align with our views, and then we have to not be silent about the need for science, because that way is dangerous. So, find the fun. Life is too short. I'm all dressed up. So Letitia left us too early, and that's a hard thing. But here she is with that smile that she always had, and that koala is pooping in her hands. Did she let the poop bother her? No, she just smiled. So just find your fun. Celebrate life, celebrate your friends, celebrate the work that you do. Again, you've got this network of people. You might be in a disco band in Washington, D.C. You might be having a spa day. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Find the fun, find the laughter, and enjoy your life. I will tell you that I had been working in Africa for more than 3 years, and somebody said to me, "Where have you been on safari?" And I said, "Oh, I've never been on safari." And she said, "What?" I said, "Well, I work on the week, and on the weekend I travel to the next country, and I work through the weekend." And she said, "Oh, that's ridiculous." She said, "We're going on safari tomorrow." And I said, "Tomorrow's Tuesday." And she said, "I got news for you." She said, "The world is not going to stop spinning on its axis if Bobby Vanderpool doesn't work on a Tuesday." oddly, she was right. We're still going around. Everything's fine. And I went on safari. So I hope you find all these things on your journey, because it's hard to get hold of all those around. The front row here seems to be somewhat of the aged group. And so, well, SO, maybe not you, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit hard getting where we're getting, but there's still fun to have along the way. And I just want to say that I'm really glad that I've had the opportunity to work with so many people, outstanding people involved in the fight for sexual health. Allison made me this lovely banner, which is why I'm saying especially Allison that I love, but I love all of the people that I've worked with. And again, that's one of the reasons I can't walk 10 feet out here without stopping to say something to somebody. So I wish that joy for all of you in the future. But we senior folks really have an obligation to build a transition process to ensure this continuity so that we have the same strength of research, effort, service into the future. And we eventually need to get out of the sunlight and let the younger group get that sunlight and oxygen. And the final thing I'm going to say is, for those of you in academia, we always talk about the tripartite mission, and most of our institutions ask us to focus on research or focus on education and, do some service along the way, right? Because that's what you do. But I think our field is unique, and I think that one of the reasons that we get together and celebrate is because really service is what we are all about. All of the research we do, and again, you could be looking at one pathogenic protein, but you're doing that so we can develop a better therapeutic, or you can develop a vaccine. You're doing it ultimately to help people's lives. You're not doing it just to be in your lab every morning. So everything that we do in this field, I think, is in support of service, and I think that's the message that I would like you all to take home. And with that, I'll say thanks again to my family, Bill, our son, and many dogs. Thank you. Now for something completely different. And if you're a Monty Python fan, that will resonate with you. ASTDA has one little last bit of business before you leave, and Abby kindly asked Khalil and I, Khalil, are you here? Where are you, Khalil? Khalil and I to take care of this last piece of business, but Khalil and I aren't quite enough to do it on our own. So I'm going to ask many more of you to come up. Hunter, I see you. Jonathan Zendelman. Hunter? I've got them in order. Hunter, Jonathan, Tom, Jeannie, Brad, Dennis, Case, Bobby, Khalil, Abby. Okay, I got us all. What you see up here, thanks. Thank you. What you see up here is a wide number of people who have been involved in ASTDA leadership. So you see many, many years of ASTDA as an organization represented up here. And we've all had slightly different visions, as is appropriate. And we've all moved toward our mission in various diverse ways. But none of us could have gotten there with the organization the way we did without one thing in common. And that's the kindness, the support, the wisdom, the strength, the organizational capacity, and the friendship of Lynn Barkley. For those of you who don't know, Lynn is the president and CEO of the American Sexual Health Association. So she has a full-time job. But beyond that full-time job, she has managed to keep ASTDA on track for many years. So we want to acknowledge her and give her an award as a friend of the ASTDA. Oh my God.
I can't believe I had no clue. I had no clue.
Totally surprised.
I told him I'd iron my shirt. Thank you, Abby.
Wow.
It's been a great ride. Thank you all. No, no.
You gotta say something.
I'm sure you're all prepared.
I will say this. You know, ASHA's 100 and, I don't know, 1914. And we were founded on what? Do you remember what? Gonorrhea and syphilis. Yep. So we have had a ride. We're not over. ASHA and ASTDA have been enormous partners for a long time. It's been my relationship that damn Jeannie Marazzo got me started. No, wait, it was Zentelman. Where's Zentelman?
Both of us. We
There
were
it is.
partners in crime.
It was both of them. And I never looked back. I built so many friendships because of it. You guys, you know, Bobby, your talk was so perfect. So perfect. So thank you for letting me be your friend and your partner, and for giving me notice that I was going to have to do this.
Congratulations, well deserved.
So this now really is the end of the awards luncheon. Thank you all for being here. If you would please stand and give one last round of applause for everybody.
That was very nice. That was good.
Yeah, you don't need them.